Hello, incredible English learners. Welcome to the deep dive. We understand that learning a new language, especially English, can often feel like, well, like staring up at a towering mountain. There's just so much to learn, an endless vocabulary, complex grammar rules, and this sheer volume of information can sometimes feel incredibly overwhelming, right? That sense of, how will I ever get to the top, is a feeling many of us share on our language learning journeys. But what if we told you there's a path that's not only more effective, but also genuinely enjoyable? A way to gain knowledge quickly, thoroughly, and most importantly, with a consistent sense of progress and, well, fun.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Today, our deep dive is into a topic that is absolutely crucial for any English learner looking to make significant, sustainable progress. We're talking about the often underestimated power of effective reading. We're going to unpack some uh, proven strategies and a really transformative approach that doesn't just make reading easier, it actually turns it from a potential chore into a captivating, rewarding journey. Think of it as finding the right gear and maybe the most scenic route for your climb.
That's right. Our mission today is to equip you with the essential tools and insights to become a confident, independent English reader. We're going to explore why reading is one of the most effective ways to supercharge your language skills, and I mean not just vocabulary, but also your intuitive grasp of grammar and fluency too. We'll show you how to handle those tricky, unknown words without getting frustrated or, stopping your flow. And crucially, we'll introduce you to a structured yet flexible six-step process that guarantees a profound sense of achievement. Get ready for some genuine aha moments that will fundamentally change how you approach learning English, transforming that mountain into, let's say, a series of enjoyable hills. Okay, let's unpack this common challenge. Many of us, when reading in our native language, use a whole sophisticated toolbox of what we call micro skills. We do it without even consciously thinking about it. Imagine reading an article online. You instinctively skim the headings, scan for keywords, you quickly grasp the main idea, the gist, right? All without needing to absorb every single word. If a paragraph is less important, you might speed up. If it's crucial or complex, you naturally slow down, maybe even rereading a sentence or two to clarify.
Yeah, it's dynamic.
You predict what might come next, you make connections. It's this intuitive dance with the text, a skill we developed over years without conscious effort. But here's the crucial question. What happens to those finely tuned reading instincts when we switch to a foreign language, like English?
What's truly fascinating here, and maybe a bit counterintuitive, is that insights from language learning research suggest we often abandon those natural reading skills almost entirely. It's strange, isn't it? Instead of employing our usual efficient strategies, we tend to adopt a very different and often far less effective approach.
How so?
We start at the absolute beginning of a text, and there's this immense, often self-imposed pressure to try and understand every single word. Like, we have to decode everything, achieve perfect comprehension from the first glance, as if it's a test.
Right, a test of our intelligence or progress.
Exactly. And, inevitably, we hit those unknown words, maybe 5, 10, even 20 words, on a single page we don't recognize. And that initial curiosity, it quickly gives way to a growing feeling of frustration, then exhaustion. It builds page by page until reading feels less like an opportunity to learn and more like an impossible task.
Which leads many learners to just give up on reading English altogether.
It's a common trap, and it's completely understandable why learners fall into it because it feels like the right way to learn, the diligent way.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener, if you find yourself caught in this cycle? It means you might actually be making your journey significantly harder on yourself than it needs to be. Imagine that scenario. You're trying to enjoy a captivating story, maybe an adventure or a mystery, but you're constantly stopping. You pull out your phone, open a dictionary app, type in the word, read the definition, try to remember it, and then, maybe a minute later, you return to the story. You lose the rhythm, the emotional connection to the plot just evaporates. And what was supposed to be an enjoyable, immersive experience turns into a demanding, fragmented vocabulary test, chapter after agonizing chapter. And here's a surprising insight. Some studies have actually shown that learners who force themselves to understand every single word, they might even experience slower, long-term vocabulary acquisition in some contexts.
Right, because it disrupts that natural language processing and drastically reduces the sheer volume of reading they're able to do.
It's not just tedious. It actively discourages you from continuing, making you feel like you're not making progress.
This raises an important question then. How can we shift from that frustrating, intensive approach where every single word must be understood, which, let's be clear, does have its place for specific grammar or vocabulary exercises, usually in textbooks.
Okay, yeah, for
Yeah.
analysis.
Right. How do we shift from that to a more natural, engaging, and ultimately effective, extensive reading method? The key is to recognize that the primary goal of reading in a foreign language should be exposure. Exposure to natural language in a compelling, context-rich environment, allowing the language to sink in organically.
So it's not about overwhelming yourself with constant dictionary checks or that pressure for perfect, immediate comprehension.
Not at all. It's about letting the language flow, trusting that the overall meaning will emerge. Like watching a movie, you might miss a few lines of dialogue, but you still follow the entire plot, right?
Yeah, you get the main idea.
It's about cultivating a tolerance for the unknown and embracing the bigger picture.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting and where our deep dive reveals a fundamental shift. Our insights tell us there are two main types of reading for language learning:
Yeah.
intensive and extensive. We just touched on intensive reading, fantastic for digging deep into specific grammar rules or dissecting complex sentences.
Like examining a single tree with a magnifying glass.
Exactly, understanding every leaf and branch. But then there's extensive reading. A completely different beast, you said.
A completely different beast, and one that offers truly revolutionary benefits for your English journey. If we connect this to the bigger picture, extensive reading is transformative because it shifts the focus dramatically. From that microscopic analysis to broad immersion, it's not about meticulous dissection. It's about reading longer texts primarily for enjoyment.
Then enjoying.
Yes, enjoyment. And to see natural language in use within a compelling narrative. Imagine immersing yourself in a captivating story, an adventure, a mystery, whatever grabs you simply for the pleasure of it. The benefits are enormous and far-reaching. You get consistent, high-volume exposure to a vast number of words and expressions.
Not just as isolated flashcards.
Exactly, as they naturally appear in context. This, in turn, builds an intuitive understanding of how English works. You start feeling the rhythm of the grammar, picking up natural collocations, understanding vocabulary nuances without consciously memorizing rules.
That sounds much more natural.
And crucially, it fosters a vital sense of achievement. Because you're actually finishing stories, experiencing the satisfaction of completing an entire narrative arc. That's a powerful motivator to keep going.
So, if I'm getting this right, the goal isn't necessarily about understanding every single word, is it? It's more about getting utterly hooked on the story, the pure pleasure of reading, letting the language just wash over you, absorbing it organically, almost subconsciously.
Precisely.
That wonderful feeling of being so engrossed in what's happening that you momentarily forget you're even reading in a foreign language.
That's the sweet spot. You've hit on the core principle. The more you read, the more you learn. It's a direct and powerful correlation. However, and this is important for this approach to truly work its magic, it demands volume.
Volume.
Meaning, reading a few pages here and there or just one short story every couple of weeks, well, that will make a significant impact on your overall English level.
Yeah.
To truly leverage the immense benefits of expensive reading, you need to read often, and you need to read a lot.
Like building physical muscle. Consistent workouts yield results, not sporadic attempts.
Exactly like that. You need to build momentum and familiarity over time, allowing the sheer quantity of exposure to do its work. This approach respects your time by maximizing what we call incidental learning.
Incidental learning.
Yeah, it's a powerful cognitive process where you pick up new words, phrases, grammatical structures almost effortlessly, simply by being engaged in the story, rather than laboriously looking them up one by one.
So it's a shortcut. Not through less effort, but through more efficiency and enjoyment.
You got it. Efficiency and enjoyment working together.
Now that we understand the incredible power of extensive reading, let's talk about something equally, if not more, important: the mindset. Because reading effectively isn't just about technique or method, it's profoundly about how you approach it mentally. Our deep dive has highlighted a few core principles that are absolutely vital for your success. These aren't just suggestions, they're fundamental shifts in perspective that can make all the difference.
They really can. It's about getting your mental toolkit ready for that mountain climb, as you put it earlier.
Right.
First and foremost, enjoyment and a sense of achievement are critically important. Cannot stress this enough. If you genuinely enjoy what you read, if the story itself creates a pull, makes you want to know what happens next, you'll naturally keep coming back for more. This intrinsic motivation is far more powerful than any external pressure.
Makes total sense. So how do you cultivate that?
The best way is by committing to reading each story from beginning to end. Don't stop halfway through because you encounter a difficult sentence or feel that flicker of frustration. Push through to the conclusion. Reaching that final page, experiencing the resolution of the plot, it's a powerful psychological motivator.
Feeling of success.
A huge feeling of success. And surprisingly, it's even more important than understanding every single word in the text. Our research indicates that learners who prioritize finishing stories, even with imperfect comprehension, report higher satisfaction and more sustained engagement.
It's about celebrating the journey and reaching the destination, not agonizing over every step.
Exactly. It's about the overall experience.
That's a huge, truly liberating shift for many learners, isn't it? The idea that finishing is more important than perfect comprehension on the first pass. It goes against that ingrained academic pressure to get everything right immediately.
It really does. And this leads directly to the second, and arguably most important principle for extensive reading success. You must accept that you won't understand everything you read.
Okay, say more about that. That sounds like the hardest part for many.
It often is, but it's also the most liberating. It directly addresses the #1 source of frustration. It is completely normal and, in fact, expected and healthy not to understand every single word or even every sentence. It doesn't mean your language level is flawed. It just means you're actively engaged in the process of learning. You're stretching yourself appropriately.
So embrace that ambiguity.
Embrace it. See those moments of uncertainty not as failures or roadblocks, but as natural stepping stones on your learning path. Becoming comfortable with this partial understanding, and crucially, not letting it derail your reading flow, is the most powerful skill you can develop. It makes you an independent, resilient, and ultimately successful English learner.
It builds a vital tolerance for the unknown.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Which serves you well in all aspects of language acquisition, not just reading. In fact, some studies show learners can achieve significant fluency gains by understanding as little as 70–80% of a text.
Wow, only 70–80%.
Yes, as long as they are consistently reading for enjoyment.
So instead of letting those unknown words trigger frustration or make you stop dead in your tracks, you should see them as natural stepping stones, not giant boulders. Part of the journey, not a failure.
Exactly. It's a chance to practice making educated guesses, or simply to acknowledge, okay, new word, and trust you'll encounter again or absorb its meaning later.
Reframing uncertainty. Yeah. That's powerful. Okay, so we've embraced the mindset, enjoyment, finishing the story, accepting we won't know every word check. But let's get practical. What do you actually do when you encounter a word you don't know? A phrase that just feels opaque. Our deep dive laid out some incredibly useful step-by-step strategies for navigating these moments without losing flow or motivation.
Right. These are your navigational tools for those tricky patches on the trail. And this raises the key question. How can you minimize interruptions while still gaining vocabulary and not feeling completely lost?
What's step one?
The first and often most effective step is to engage your inner language detective. Look for similarities. See if the unknown word is familiar in any way. Does it share a root or structure with a word in your first language, a cognate?
Ah, like information in English and information in Spanish.
Exactly. Or maybe it resembles another English word you already know. Take an educated guess. You might surprise yourself how often you're right just by connecting existing knowledge. Like seeing unhappiness, recognizing happy, and inferring means not.
So, not happy. Got it.
Or knowing travel, you might guess traveler is a person who travels. Don't underestimate your linguistic intuition.
Be a language detective. Look for clues and connections. Actively search for links.
Exactly. It's proactive. The second crucial step, especially if there's no obvious similarity, is to reread the sentence, and maybe even the surrounding sentences, several times. Often, the meaning is hinted at or even defined by the context.
The story itself gives clues.
Absolutely. By looking at the words around it, the action unfolding, a character's reaction, you can often infer what the unknown word might mean. This builds contextual understanding, which is far more powerful for long-term retention than a quick dictionary definition.
Can you give an example?
Sure. If a character burst out laughing after a joke, you can infer burst out means starting suddenly, intensely, even if you don't know the phrase. Or if someone nods to agree, you understand the gesture from the context of communication. Pay attention to the bigger picture.
Makes sense. And sometimes a word isn't entirely new, but just a different form of a word we already know, right? Like seeing ran instead of run, or gone instead of go, or beautifully instead of beautiful. Those can trip you up.
That's the third strategy, and it's incredibly common in English. Think about different forms of words you know. English is full of conjugations, derivations, tense variations. You might not immediately recognize have gone in a complex sentence, but you definitely recognize go.
And the core meaning is often enough.
Often, yes. The essence of the action is usually enough to understand the gist and keep the plot moving in your mind. Don't let unfamiliar forms stop your flow. Just notice them. Make a mental note. Different form. And carry on. Your brain will start connecting these forms over time with more exposure. Disappear, exciting, excited. The core is there.
Okay, good advice. But what about those really stubborn words? The ones that just won't give up their meaning, even after detective work and context clues.
Your last resort, step 4, is to make a quick note of the unknown word, maybe in a small notebook or even just on a sticky note. Then check its meaning later.
Later, not right away.
Right. This allows you to continue your reading rhythm without interruption. Enjoyment and flow remain the priority. By reviewing these words later end of the chapter, end of your reading session, you build your active vocabulary over time. You can also refer to vocabulary lists or glossaries if your reading material has them, like many graded readers do.
But prioritize guessing first.
Always prioritize independent guessing and context first. These strategies train you to handle reading independently. They build resilience, so you don't constantly need that dictionary crutch every few sentences. It's about building self-sufficiency.
Okay, now let's tie all this together. We've got the mindset, we've got strategies for unknown words. Now for a clear, actionable plan. Our deep dive uncovered a brilliant 6-step reading process. You can apply this to any chapter or short story to really maximize learning and enjoyment.
Exactly. This structured approach is designed to build confidence and reinforce learning progressively, without ever feeling overwhelming or like a tedious drill. Each step has a purpose.
Okay, lay it on us. What's step 1?
Step 1. Before you even read a sentence, look at any illustration for the chapter and read the chapter title. Spend a minute thinking, what might this be about? Make some predictions. What genre? This primes your brain, gets you engaged.
Activates prior knowledge.
Right. Then, and this is the crucial part of stage 1, read the entire chapter through. From beginning to end. Your sole aim here is simply to reach the end. Follow the plot thread. Get a general sense of what happens. Do not stop to look up words. Don't worry if you don't understand everything. Just follow the story. First pass is engagement and momentum.
That sounds incredibly liberating. Just focusing on the story, letting go of that pressure for perfect understanding. It really reframes reading.
It does. That initial read is all about engagement. Step 2. Once you finish the chapter, immediately read the provided summary of the plot, if there is one. This is your quick check-in. Did you grasp the main points? Did the core events match your understanding?
Low-stakes confirmation.
Exactly. And if it's challenging, if your understanding doesn't quite match the summary, don't worry, that's normal. You'll find your comprehension improves with each chapter, each story. It just confirms you're on the right track.
Okay, so first read for gist, then check the summary. Then we go back in, I imagine, for a closer look.
Yes, precisely. Step 3. Go back and read the same chapter again. This time, because you already have the overview from the first read and the summary, you can relax more. The pressure is off. You'll probably notice how many more words and phrases suddenly make sense now that you have the context.
The magic of context.
It really is magic. If you wish, you can focus more on story details this time, nuances, character motivations you missed. But the main goal is still reading through again without excessive stopping. Repetition is key for retention.
Solidifies vocabulary and grammar patterns without intense effort.
Exactly. Building those neural pathways more deeply.
Okay, second read done. What's next? Step 4.
Step 4. Read the summary again, quickly. Then, and only then, review the vocabulary list provided for that chapter. Now that you've read the story twice and grasped the plot, these specific words will likely resonate more. They have context in your mind.
They're not just floating words anymore.
Right. If any words on the list are still unclear, now is the ideal time to scan the text and find them in context. Seeing them in their natural habitat reinforces their meaning much more memorably than a dictionary lookup.
So vocabulary comes after 2 reads and 2 summary checks. That makes so much sense. Engaging with the story first, building context, then solidifying specific words, that flips the traditional approach.
It does, and it's far more effective for extensive reading, and ensures vocabulary serves the story, not the other way around. Step 5. Work through any comprehension questions provided with the chapter.
The exercises.
Yes, but think of them less as a test and more as a tool. They're designed to check your understanding of key events, character actions, maybe themes. They encourage deeper, active engagement, without the pressure of perfect recall from the first read. Even if you don't get every answer right, trying prompts your brain to revisit the text, think critically, and consolidate understanding.
Okay, checks progress and identifies areas to maybe revisit. And finally, step 6.
Step 6 is about consolidation and moving forward. At this point, after these steps, you should have a solid, comfortable understanding of the main events. If you're not yet confident, totally fine. Maybe reread the chapter again, using the vocabulary list as needed, until you feel comfortable.
Mastery over that chapter's events.
Exactly. Once you feel ready, confident you understand what happened, move on to the next chapter at your own pace. And remember, the biggest benefits come from reading story after story, beginning to end, building that continuous exposure and momentum with engaging narratives. That consistent volume is your most powerful tool.
Now, you might be thinking, this all sounds great, but what kind of stories are best for this method? Where do I find this stuff? Because it's not just how you read, but what you read that fuels progress and keeps you motivated. Our insights highlight that the right material is designed specifically for your learning journey.
Right. It has to be both effective and enjoyable. And what's fascinating here is the careful curation of content, specifically for beginner to low intermediate learners. Imagine diving into a collection of unconventional, entertaining short stories crafted to be at your level. This avoids that frustration of picking up something meant for native speakers, which can be totally demoralizing.
So not dry academic exercises.
Definitely not. These are designed to transport you magical worlds, adventure, mystery, suspense, drama, all in clear, accessible English. You're not just reading words, you're escaping into captivating narratives, absorbed in another world.
So stories with exciting page-turning content that keeps you hooked, stories that make you forget you're even learning, like following students on a chaotic exchange trip in Spain that goes hilariously wrong.
Exactly. Ending up in Valencia instead of Barcelona, a crazy paella-filled day. The joy of the narrative is the driving force. Or maybe joining friends exploring a mysterious old house, finding strange footprints, encountering a weird creature.
Only to realize it's all part of an elaborate surprise birthday plot.
Precisely. The content is designed to be utterly engrossing and varied. You might follow the misadventures we mentioned or join friends in that old house with its heartwarming secret. You could find yourself with a noble knight seeking magic potions to avert war, or uncovering a centuries-old family secret through old necklaces, a locked chest, a forgotten diary.
Wow, lots of variety.
Huge variety. Viking expeditions, ancient curses, an invisible woman navigating modern office politics with a mischievous streak. Even thrilling space empires at war over rare crystals. Each story is a world unto itself, carefully constructed to captivate you.
And these stories aren't just fun, which is key for motivation. They're also linguistically rich and strategically supportive for learners. Built to teach without you even realizing it. Seamless learning.
Indeed. These stories aren't random. They're carefully crafted to expose you to a wide variety of essential word forms, common idioms. And they frequently incorporate the 1,000 to 2,000 most common words in English.
So you're building that really useful, practical vocabulary foundation.
Exactly. Plus, they often feature interesting illustrations to introduce content, provide visual cues, aid comprehension, spark imagination. They're broken into shorter, manageable chapters, gives you that satisfying feeling of quick progress, prevents overwhelm.
Manageable chunks.
Right. And crucially, they include those vital learning aids we discussed. Clear summaries after each chapter for plot overview and confirmation. Helpful vocabulary lists to clarify words after you've read. And comprehension questions to test understanding and encourage deeper engagement.
That whole supportive reading environment sounds key.
It's absolutely crucial for building comprehension and confidence without feeling overwhelmed. It transforms learning into a truly enjoyable and rewarding adventure, one story at a time. #tag outro.
So there you have it, a truly deep dive into how effective, extensive reading can genuinely transform your English learning journey. It's about so much more than just words on a page, isn't it? It's about unlocking new worlds, gaining fresh perspectives, and cultivating a profound, self-driven sense of accomplishment, moving you from potentially frustrated learner to confident, independent reader who genuinely enjoys the English language.
Absolutely. And remember, for many of you listening, the biggest step forward you will take in your studies this year could be simply committing to reading engaging stories consistently. Don't worry about perfection. That's a myth that often holds learners back.
No, focus on progress instead.
Focus on progress, on finding joy in the narratives, and on building that vital, intuitive connection with the language. Each story you finish, each new word you meet in context is a victory. It's about building a consistent habit, a steady pace up that mountain, enjoying the scenery along the way.
That's such a motivating and empowering thought. Letting the narratives be your guide, letting curiosity drive your learning. Discovering English isn't just rules and dictionaries, but a vibrant tapestry of incredible stories waiting for you. So, for all of you incredible English learners out there, we really hope this deep dive has given you a fresh perspective, renewed enthusiasm, and some powerful, practical tools to make reading a truly joyful and effective part of your language adventure. Go forth and read. Let your imagination run wild, immerse yourselves in these wonderful worlds, and enjoy every single step of your English learning journey. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. It truly helps us bring more valuable insights directly to you. Keep learning, keep exploring, and most importantly, keep reading.